guest, Will Lathrop, is running for Attorney General, and he is with us here on Captive Audience. Welcome, Will. It is so nice to have you here with us.
Yeah. Thank you, Sunny. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Well, I'll tell you, Will Lathrop is, as I just said, he's running for Attorney General in Oregon. And Will is an Oregonian. In fact, he hails from 6 generations of Oregonians coming from Wallowa County. And his rural ranch experience, upbringing has really taught him hard work, discipline, integrity. And he also has extensive expertise in victim protection, law enforcement, and justice system reform that fuels his ambition to tackle the surging crime and disorder in Oregon as our next Attorney General. And you know, Will's experience began in Marion County, Oregon. So, Will, I'll tell you, I'm really, really happy to have you here with us, so that people can get to know you, meet you, and so tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Sunny. Again, yeah, I'm originally from Wallowa County, like you said. I'm from a cattle ranch, and I came to the Willamette Valley to go to law school at Willamette University College of Law. My first job as a lawyer was as a prosecutor in McMinnville, and then I was recruited away to Marion County, to Salem, to join the Special Victims Unit, where I was a child sex abuse prosecutor for quite a few years. Then I was recruited away from there to go to Washington, D.C., to do that at the national level. And then in Washington, D.C., I ran into an organization called International Justice Mission, or IJM, which is the world's largest anti-human trafficking organization. And they first asked me to lead a team in Uganda. So northern Uganda, I was in a city called Gulu, and we were working with the government there to prosecute violent land raiders who had taken land from widows and orphans. And then then they moved me to West Africa. So for the last 5 years, I've been in West Africa working with the Ghanaian government to rescue child slaves and prosecute slave traders and masters. We also got some of money from the State Department, and the State Department kind of on a side gig to some extent, where we would go to the Middle East and rescue West African women who had been trafficked to the Gulf Coast countries for labor or sex. And that's what I did for the last 5 years. Is what I've been up to, leading kind of large teams to engage in anti-human trafficking work. And every year, I've always had a residence here in Oregon, Sunny. I've always been an Oregon resident. So every year I would come back for a month or two, and just watching the decay. Each year I came back, just watching the decay of law and order and governance in the state of Oregon. It's been quite shocking. And so I felt really duty bound, as you said, as a longtime Oregonian, to come back and try to be part of a new wave of leadership.
Well, I'll tell you, in those, let's just call it the last 10 years, it really has gone downhill. The changes in Oregon, I mean, what you've seen, it's all over. And what's happening in Portland, predominantly the West Side. But now the issues that have pretty much been on the West Side are really spreading all over here. And I tell you, here in Umatilla County, I feel like we're getting a lot of people shipped in to us that we never used to have. And so I've posted Will's website and also Instagram and also LinkedIn. So you have them there. And we're all, as we go along, I'll post some also articles that there has been, for example, the Wallowa chieftain. And I really like this one from that was your press release, actually, from November 27th in the Oregon Catalyst, which we quote or get a lot of our news. I've got 3 things on here for today from the Oregon Catalyst. And, to kick off your campaign with $300,000 in the bank is awesome. I don't know what it costs to run a statewide race like this, but it's awesome. Yeah. It's because I realize you you and I talked a long time ago that, about you're going to run for attorney general. So this was a plan. And I'm really happy. I'm thrilled that a conservative person such as yourself, with the law experience that you have, is interested to actually throw your hat in the ring and be uh, the top law dog in the state of Oregon.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sunny. If I can tell a quick story, to your listeners, when I was first really considering this, over a year ago, really thinking about and praying about what this would look like, I was discussing it with my mother, who's is a PCP over in Molalla County, and she called to the audience. She called Sunny, and Sunny actually drove all the way out to Little Enterprise, Oregon, to get a coffee with me and test me out and ask me some really hard questions. And I think my mom was thinking, if you can survive Sunny, then this might be the job
for you. Well, there's things you have to ask a candidate who's actually willing to run in a statewide race, because you want to know if it's just a flyby, it's somebody who is hoping they could do this, or somebody who's really serious about doing this. Because as a county chair, I don't want to waste my time helping a candidate that doesn't have a chance to truly get elected. And I believe
Right.
you have the opportunity to be elected because of for many reasons. One is your experience that you have that's quite varied, but the state of affairs of this state of Oregon, and that we haven't had truly any, in my opinion, good candidates run for attorney general. The one we have currently has not been doing the best interest of Oregon, at all. And it's very discouraging for people to see the Democrats and what they're implementing, and the George Soros backed type lawyers, which you are not, and what they're doing, not just to our county, state, but even the nation, because there's many of those that are all over, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Completely.
So you've decided to run for attorney general, and so you've been doing parades and been having speaking engagements. Have you been to all the counties yet?
I've been to a lot of them. There's some on the coast, I think Tillamook and Clatsop, and then some in sort of central and southeastern Oregon that I haven't gotten to. But my last check is I think I was at 29 of 36 counties I had spoken to, and I should say I've decided to really engage. I left my job at IJM right before Christmas of last year, so I've almost been back to in Oregon for a whole year, and I started campaigning full time on January 2nd, 6 days a week. And so my motto has been anytime, any place, anywhere. So long as there's space on my calendar and it's possible, I'll try to get there. And so I've met with a lot of public officials in counties across the state, just listening, trying to understand what each county is experiencing, rather than just have the whole focus be around Portland like it always is. I want to know what's really going on out there. I've been intentional about getting together with business, with agriculture, with timber, and talking to the county parties. And each one of those is different, as you know, and each one of them has their own, I would say, culture and sort of perspective. So we've worked really hard at trying, and I'm in Portland a lot, and I'm in Salem a lot, and I'm in Eugene a lot, because that's ultimately where the elections get decided. So I launched my campaign about a little less than 2 weeks ago, but I've been campaigning real hard for much longer than that.
And the attorney general position is a nonpartisan position, even though you would know.
It's partisan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is. It should be nonpartisan, but for some reason, Oregon's made it a partisan position. Yeah.
Okay, because we had Dennis Richardson is the last person who won statewide, and he really represented everybody across the board, and that's what he said he would do.
Yeah.
And so, what are your thoughts on that?
Good man, tragic loss. I don't think we're so dissimilar in our approach. You said as a nonpartisan position because you would just immediately think it should be. I mean, it's a law enforcement, law execution, almost a quasi judicial position, and it's largely, though it is technically partisan, it's largely for my whole legal career has been treated as a nonpartisan position by the elected officials. But Ellen Rosenblum, our current attorney general, is the first one to sort of politicize it and turn it into an activist role. And we've all seen the fruits of her work. I mean, the state is a big fat mess, and her and Kate Brown kind of got together and made it that way. So um, for me, my platform is kind of unintentionally very nonpartisan because things are so we've forgotten to do the fundamental things that make government work, and that's what I'm really focused on. That's protecting people from crime and violence, particularly taking on the drug industry. Oregon's become this drug depot state, and drug cartel has moved in, and like we've never thought they would or thought they could, and are taking over everything. And so it requires a statewide response, and that's been a failure of our current attorney general. We've had a lot of corruption. It's the role of the attorney general to take on corruption and investigate public officials who are misusing their office. And it's the role of the attorney general to make sure the executive power is in check, that the governor just doesn't do whatever they want. And Kate Brown did whatever she wanted, and it seems like Tina Kotek is set on doing the same. And so it's really not partisan to say, I'm going to hold drug traffickers accountable, I'm going to hold corrupt politicians accountable, and I'm going to make the state agencies follow the law. But
no, it isn't. It's not partisan at all. I mean, the scales of justice are supposed to be equal, right?
Yeah, blind. Yeah.
Yes, blind and equal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Bobby has asked, if you got elected, what would be the first thing you would do?
The first
and I'll rephrase it. When you get elected, what will be the first thing you do?
Thanks, Bobby. Well, I'm guessing you're saying after I take office, but the first thing I do when I get elected is I'll have 2 months to take a break. but in all seriousness, the very first thing we got to focus on is this drug issue. I mean, ballot measure 110 has just turned the state upside down and decayed us from the inside out. And I was just testifying in front of the legislature, and I'll continue to do that. I'm going to be double barrels blasting on ballot measure 110 all year. Was a huge mistake that we have to go after. But as an attorney general, you can count on me as somebody who's going to reorient the attorney. So it's a $780 million budget. It's a massive budget, and they're using it to do all these things that some of the things matter, but they're not critical, and some things don't matter at all, like suing Fox News or trying to eliminate gas stoves, which has been a big thing for Ellen. So, but you can count on me as somebody who's going to reroute that money, not ask for more money, but reroute that money towards engaging in protecting people from organized crime. We have a big problem with human trafficking, drug trafficking, and organized retail theft, and it's on the attorney general to get in front of that. And so my first focus, day one, is going to be trying to get the right people on the ship that know how, and I've worked in that industry, so I know who those people are, that know how to actually attack this and show noticeable change by the end of year one. Thanks for that question. That's a good one.
And so when Trump gets reelected and Antifa decides to go burn Portland, and you've been elected as the attorney general, what are you going to do to make sure that stuff gets shut down? Or can you?
I'm telling you, that's organized crime. And I'm telling you, this may not be popular with the listeners. I don't care if you're on the right side, the left side, in the center, or somewhere in outer space. If you think you have a good point and you have to use violence or civil disobedience to get it across, then you will be held accountable. I don't care what you could be the greatest point on earth. You have to follow the law. If your point was so good, you could follow the law and get it across. And so I have no time for organized groups that break the law in the name of a great cause. I won't stand for it.
I like that answer, because we've seen that so much. And I've already through social media reading even some reports like that, so Lori looks like she's asking about something about a sanctuary status. I don't know what your question is there. Maybe Lori, you can type up something there. But for example, here you have Tina Kotek has, and Dawn and I talked about this on Wednesday, that Tina has said that 10,000 people, she's forgiven 10,000 more drivers who had their driver's licenses suspended. These people haven't paid fines. They've got parking tickets, speeding tickets. I don't know what other kind of tickets you get, but they didn't pay their fines. So they eventually lost their driver's license. This is 10, I haven't any idea how much money that would represent to the state of Oregon. I know we have a hell of a lot of money in our budget, so much so we're going to get a big kicker back. But that's, to me, is just crazy. Is there anything that the attorney general can do about that? Given the government, the governor has an opportunity to do stuff like this.
Yeah, it's funny. Just before we came on, you alerted me to that, so I haven't been. I'm bashful to say I wasn't aware of that. I am surprised at how tone deaf our statewide leaders are to what it feels like right now to be. I don't care if you're in Portland or Pendleton, what it feels like to be in places where the law doesn't seem to matter. That people can break windows, can steal. The police don't show up. I was even speaking in Portland once and somebody got stabbed in the doorway and they never called the police. I was shocked.
Wow.
And so to continue to double and triple down on that and say, don't worry about the law doesn't matter, all is forgiven. I'm very concerned that our leadership, they don't understand the decay that is happening around them. And it's just really time for new people and new voices, and a breath of fresh air, because it's just the same thing over and over. Yeah. Nothing surprises me.
It is. And yet I feel like the decay is intentional. I hate to say that, but I feel like that it is that. So we have a question. Let's see. Can anything be done about the excessive waste and money laundering? Can we also get rid of sanctuary status? So there's a couple questions.
So I'll start with the sanctuary status. The sanctuary status is kind of a tricky thing. It's one of those things where immigration is given by the U.S. Constitution. It's not debatable. It's given to the federal government. The states have no right in immigration, and that makes sense because you don't want a different immigration policy happening all across our borders. That would be complete chaos. And for political reasons, a lot of states have tried to assert some sort of immigration authority in their states, and I don't want to say this definitively, but I question aloud the legality of that under the Constitution. But the reality, whether the legality is something different, the reality is that we've worked so hard in Oregon to become sort of lopsided towards our policies towards immigration that we've pushed away the DEA, we've pushed away the ICE, we've pushed away a lot of the federal agencies that are meant to protect us from the drug trade, from drug trafficking and human trafficking. And we just open ourselves up like an open door. And we legalize drugs. We're a safe haven for drug dealers coming across the border. Fentanyl is not made here, by the way. I don't know if your listeners know. It's all made in China or Mexico. We have a fentanyl crisis, and none of it is made here. So it's all coming across the border, and we're rejecting help, which seems incredibly unwise. And I will not do that. I will work with the federal agencies, as I think we are constitutionally required to do.
Okay, so another one is Bobby asks, can you do audits on our money and voting?
Yeah, the audit section is really from if I'm getting you right, really comes from the Secretary of State. Yes. And that is also an open position right now. And I don't know, and Sonny's usually a little more in on the inside of politics than I am, but I don't know if the Republicans have a really strong candidate to run, but I think this is a great opportunity in Oregon to bring some trust back to the book side and the election side of Oregon, because obviously our last Secretary of State, when you're taking more money from the marijuana industry than you make from the state, and you're auditing the marijuana industry, it does tend to leave a lot of people questioning whether or not that the voting is fair and everything is above board. And so we need a person of integrity in that position. We really do.
Well, we do. We do. Absolutely. Okay. Lori asks, what about some of Brown's bogus executive orders being reversed?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. So you have a governor and an attorney general who are both appointed by the same former governor. If you didn't know, neither of them won their election. They were both appointed sort of
right.
I mean, actually, they weren't both appointed. Kate Brown came after Kitzhaber's disgrace, and then Ellen was appointed after the last AG's disgrace. And so they kind of come from the same tree, and they're supposed to be separate. It's supposed to be an accountability position where the AG makes sure the executive power stays in check. And what's happened is when they come from the same tree and they're almost like twin sisters, you've had this 8 to 10 year, well, I guess it was 6 years where there's total collusion between the AG and the governor, and nobody was checking the AG power. There's countless examples of that, and some of them have been probably innocuous, and some of them have been really destructive to our state. And so right now, our current governor is Tina Kotek. When she was the House Speaker, her whip was Dan Rayfield. Tina Kotek's the governor. Dan Rayfield is running for Attorney General against me. Why is he?
It's more of the same.
Why is he leaving the second most powerful position in the state to run for Attorney General? They're doing it, one, because I've been making a lot of noise and they're worried about losing that position. But two, they know that the two of them together is a mega executive power, more than was ever meant to be. Crushing business, crushing personal freedoms, really advancing very radical ideas in non-democratic ways. And I can't think of something more important right now that's happening in Oregon than breaking that power up. It's quite dangerous.
Well, that's all the more reason that you need to be elected. So I didn't know that. So you've just connected a dot right there that I didn't know. In fact, I didn't know of anybody else that has declared yet. So as much as I try to stay up on all the politics, sometimes you miss a little bit, and life happens, and then we have Christmas. So, let's see. No, so Nicholas asks, can the Attorney General make the Secretary of State clean voter rolls like it's supposed to be done?
Yeah, so no, the Attorney General, the Attorney General's touch on the Secretary of State. So the Secretary of State has their own authority. They're elected by the people. They have their own purview, and the Attorney General, and I believe in separation of power. So I'm not going to promise anybody I'm going to go in and start using powers I don't have. The only time you're going to see the Attorney General interface with the Secretary of State in that manner is if it's shown that the Secretary of State has broke the law, like our current one just did. And our Attorney General has done nothing about that. But if she was doing her job well, Fagan would have handcuffs on. So you don't see me come in, not if they're doing a bad job or they're doing a negligent job. The Attorney General only becomes relevant when they're doing a criminal job, when they're actually breaking the law.
Yeah. And so, going back to what our former Secretary of State had, that was tied to LaMotta. Well, I've found this article today in the Willamette Week that LaMotta has vacated their longtime processing facility in Portland, shutters dispensary, and attempts to sell 3 properties. Mm-hmm. And in this article from the Willamette Week, it says it's unclear whether Aaron Mitchell and Rosa Cazares have found a new processing facility, but they're shutting down everything. So I'll tell you what they were doing. They've got piles of tax liens and lawsuits, and to have hired our Secretary of State for a consultant. I mean, how inappropriate is that? When that whole thing broke, it was just astonishing.
Well, your listeners
and astonishing that our Attorney General was doing nothing about it.
she was on the take. So
Right.
your listeners probably know a lot about this because it's a more educated, politically educated crowd that I'm probably used to being in front of. But if you zero back, my understanding is that the Lamoda executives that you just named, they came from Florida. Marijuana is not legal in Florida. They came to
Yes.
Oregon with sacks of cash, and I'm not talking like $10,000. I'm talking about millions of dollars of cash. They came and started paying for property in cash here, and then they started. Tina Kotek got $60,000 a sack of cash from them. You can find video record of the current attorney general thanking LaModa publicly at fundraising events for the Democratic Party for their great role. They're giving the Secretary of State $10,000. If you know Val Hoyle, who's running is it CD3 against Monique Despain, and Monique Despain's kind of an up and rising Republican everybody should know about.
Yes.
Val Hoyle was also getting from LaModa. And so you go, I think as in a prosecutor, I think I zero back, okay, how do these people have money and marijuana ties in Florida where marijuana is not legal? I can tell you what Florida is. It has a long time history of connection to the drug cartel in Central and South America. So there's an ongoing FBI investigation into that, which we have largely not cooperated with, the state of Oregon. And I think because there's a lot of heads that are going to roll. That I think that when it comes down to it is that we have had something 10 years ago, we would have been thought of conspiracy theorists have been laughed out of the room that the drug cartel was reaching in and influencing politics in the little state of Oregon, all the way from it. It's just unimaginable, and it's embarrassing. Honestly, I'm embarrassed by all of it.
Well, it is. It is embarrassing that to have all of that. This is, to me, it's like mafia stuff. And yet these
Yeah.
are our elected officials that are supposed to be representing all of Oregonians, and clearly they aren't. And I hope to read about keeping my eye on the news and hearing and reading about some trials of them and the corruption here, because it's just unconscionable, and it's going on not just here in Oregon, it's going on all over the place. And
the statute
so
of
Bobby
limitations
asked,
so the statute of
yeah, right,
limitations is 3 years.
okay,
And so we have time.
is it 3 years?
We have time.
Wow. Okay, well, that's good to know. That's good
So
to know.
you can count on me as one person that would be quite interested in taking on that case if nobody else is going to.
Oh, well, that's another reason they're going to try to really throw a lot of heat at you to not help you get to thwart you being elected, is because they don't want that accountability, right?
Yep.
And I can't imagine, Kotek and that other guy who was the leader there, the speaker, to be in cahoots as an attorney general. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Katie bar the doors for Oregon then.
Yeah.
We would have more LaModa issues, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless they get found out, right? Because thankfully there's some investigative journalists that are looking into things and finding out. So
yeah,
what you did, and also in Oregon, we have a huge trafficking problem, right? Human trafficking issue.
Yes.
And this is your bailiwick of what you were doing in Africa, correct?
Yeah. I prosecuted, I had human trafficking cases on my caseload when I was working in Oregon as a sex abuse and child abuse prosecutor. That was also part of my duty. So I know the difference before I left, and I know the difference when it's come back and it is exploded across our state. And again, I'm scratching my head. I'm shedding tears. I don't understand what we gave ourselves up to.
Yeah. I don't know either. What can people do to help you and help your campaign, Will?
Well, this
money. That's what we need.
Money. It is shockingly important. I'm a longtime public servant, not a politician, My opponent's been a longtime politician, not a public servant. So we're kind of very starkly different in that way. But money makes a big difference because money sets the narrative. Right now, left, right, or center, you'd be surprised. I'm intentional about talking to everybody and anybody I can. And everybody is united in Oregon right now, more than I've ever seen them before, in that everybody is miserable. And you ask them why they're miserable. I say, do you think Oregon's doing well? Everybody, universally, people say no. And you say, why? And they say we have a homeless problem, we have an addiction problem, we have a crime problem, and we have a fragile economy. Everybody's worried about the out migration that's happening in Oregon right now. I don't talk to somebody who says, yeah, it's good, it's best it's ever been. That doesn't happen. And so we have this opportunity where my message isn't really my message. My message is the people's message. It's not even the Republican message. It's the people's message. The people want to feel safe. They want their jobs to be safe, and they want to live in prosperity, and they want to believe that their government's working on their behalf. They want those things. And so if you have money, you can use the marketing, you can use the ads, you can be on TV, and you can set the narrative. That's the winning narrative. It's the people's narrative. You're not even telling them what, they're telling you what. But if you don't have money, the other side will make it about a bunch of things that the Attorney General have nothing to do with, social issues that the Attorney General has nothing to do with, and we saw that in campaigns before. And so sadly, money plays a big role. But if you're not a person that has, and any amount's really great, but if you're not a person that of means and money's really not an option to you, you still play a big role in my campaign. Reposting our stuff on social media and we're running a grassroots campaign. My opponent's never going to go over the Cascade Mountains. Maybe once he'll do it in an airplane and take some pictures at Pendleton Roundup or something like they always do. But we're out there, and he's counting on just TV. I'm counting on the grassroots grind of 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and it multiplies that way. So if you can multiply us on social media, put up the signs, and then at the end of the day, get the vote out. Get the vote out the best you can. Right now we have. Let me just say one more thing, Sonny. I'm sorry, I'm talking a blue streak here, but
nope. This is good. This is good.
I talk to people around the state. I really have, and especially people in the Republican Party have become quite apathetic to say my vote doesn't matter. The elections are rigged. It doesn't. It's all a setup job. And it just ends up creating a culture and environment of voter apathy that scares me, because I think we need, now more than ever, we need more voters, not less. If there's no margins, then let's make a big margin. And so when it comes to voting time, everybody can do their best if you have the ability, maybe if you're disabled, not, but to knock on doors and help harvest ballots legally. The left does a really great job in Portland of going to all the neighborhoods that are going to vote for them, and then they just put a fleet of people out there helping people sign their name and holding their hand and circling Tina Kotek and all of that stuff. And I hear people complain about it, but I think we can meet them where they're at. I think a great voter turnout helps me. It doesn't help my opponent.
Yes, and so I've just reposted again your website.
Great.
And yes, Will is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So go and like him. What is your Facebook page? Is it Will Lathrop or?
Yeah, I think if you just sign up, just search Will Lathrop, it'll come right up. I think it might be Will for Oregon or something like that, but you'll know me. Look at it's the head. Just so Will Lathrop, and it'll come up.
Yes, and so I'll tell you. So we were on actually last Friday when I was doing a solo. I said it's all about voting. You know what? Everybody's vote matters, because by not voting, you're throwing it away. You're actually voting for an opponent of what you might like. You're voting against your values if you don't vote.
Yeah.
And every vote does count. And we have to get our family, friends, and neighbors out to get their ballot cast. So where can people get signs of yours or literature on you of yours?
So signs. If I'm very, Sonny, you're very much my senior on this, but my understanding of the law is that signs can't come out till 90 days before the election,
right?
Both the primary and then the general. And so that's kind of the next phase for us. Is this, January starts, we're going to start leaning into to setting the things in motion to get signs up. So if you go to my website and you just go in, it's very easy. You just kind of go into to get involved or subscribe, and you go in there and you say, what do you want to do? It'll be able to check a box. I want to put up a sign. I want to walk. I want to be part of the newsletter. I want to donate. All of that is really user friendly, and all of it's important.
And to our audience, if you are having, Will said he's trying to get around everywhere. If
Yeah.
you know of an event that's upcoming, let his campaign know. And, about something, of course, lots of time in advance, because so that he can try to get places on the calendar or speaking engagements. If you want to host a fundraiser and, bring people, and hosting a fundraiser for Will Lathrop, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
So everything that we can do as Oregonians wanting a great attorney general, we need to do to help get Will Lathrop elected.
Thank you, Sunny.
You betcha. You betcha. We've got to, it's totally, I just don't want to see the other side of Oregon. If this election is so important, every election anymore is important. I don't care if it's your school board or the dog catcher or the water board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Water's the new gold. Every single election is important, and being involved wherever, however, and wherever that you can. And it's just so important. So I appreciate very much that you are running for Attorney General in Oregon. And I would like to give you the last word. Anything you would like to add?
Well, I would say that I'm here, Sonny, because I really enjoyed the work I was doing and I thought it was really important. But I'm here because I know what Oregon can be, and I know we're not even close. And it's hard to live in an environment where you're black. You want to live in an environment where things are getting better all the time and you're seeing this sort of progress. But what we have coined as progress has been greatly regressive in this state right now. So I do sense going into Christmas season a bit of a hopelessness or despair as people are wondering what next year is going to be like. Is it going to even get even worse after that? But I have the sense, that right now is a turning point in the state. Ballot Measure 110. When I came back in January, I had even Republicans telling me that I needed to talk less about Ballot Measure 110 because it was really, really popular. And I said, I don't care. People are suffering, and I'm gonna keep talking. And by March, it went 51% people against, and then people started talking about it. And I noticed that there are a lot of people in leadership that follow the polls. They were going to shut up until they found out that people were against it. Then they would start talking like it was their idea. And now it's like, it depends on the poll you're talking about, 68 to 75% of Oregonians want to repeal Ballot Measure 110. There's something happening here. There's a movement happening where in 2020, the mob was tearing everything down. And in 2023, the mob sobered up, and they're wanting safety, and they're wanting stability, and they're wanting everybody to come together and unify across the state. And I want to capture that energy, and I don't want to be crushed by the hopelessness or despair that it's easy to feel in this moment in time. So I had to tell all of you something. I would say that my goal isn't to win and have my own vanity and then we have a party. My goal is to be a part of a wave of some change that like I say, that we know what Oregon can be, and we do our best. We do our best every year to make it a little bit better for our children, or our grandchildren, or great grandchildren, if you're so lucky to have that realm. And I think that these little elections, Sandy, you said it well. It's every one of them really, really counts. Who is the leader you're electing? Are they a megalomaniac? Are they an egomaniac? Are they a servant leader? Are they climbing to try to get into power? It matters, because servant leaders can do great things for people, and selfish leaders can do terrible things for everyone. And I hope to be that first thing. That's really important to me. So thanks for having me tonight, and I'd appreciate your support.
Okay, so thank you, Will, for coming on. And I'm going to ask all of our audience to please go to willlathrop.com. It's willlathrop.com and sign up. That's the website. Follow him on Facebook and on social medias. and get involved and give him support. And yes, I will be inviting Will back. So he will come back and we'll get to hear from him again. And everybody, thank you so much. Share the message, share this all around, and just to help Will get his message out there and for other people to get to meet him. Thank you, Will, for joining us so much.
Thank
Everybody,
you, Sunny.
have a good night.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone.